Ciresi?
Thank you, Joel. Elaine, thank you. I am standing, Joe. It's hard to tell, I know. I'd like to thank the Democratic Women for Progressive Action for holding this debate tonight. And I do hope that we get a chance to debate, not to argue, not to take shots and criticize each other, but to truly have a debate, because this is a very critical time in this nation's history. Today I was on the University of Minnesota's campus, and a flood of memories came back to me, because that's where I finished my education as a law student. And I wasn't too far from Fraser Hall where that took place. But what drew me there, and what drew Jack there, I think you were there, was that ASME was on strike. And they were on strike because the university could not give them a raise that would equal inflation. That would equal inflation. And I thought to myself of my own background, and these memories came flooding back. Someone who's lived here his entire life, whose father had a 7th grade education, whose mother died of breast cancer when he was 12, and we were fortunate enough to have health insurance so that she got good health care. But my dad, who had a small business, could not afford health insurance today. And I looked at these folks and I heard what they did. Every library book that goes out goes through their hands. Every student loan goes through their hands. The university could not work without their work. And I thought of the middle class squeeze and what we're facing in this nation. And I wonder, how do the poor have a chance to move up if the middle class is sliding back on them? And that's what's happening today. Healthcare. 47 million, as Jim said. 47 million Americans who have to worry if they have one significant illness. Will they lose their house? Will they be unable to provide food for their children if their spouse is sick? 47 million Americans who wonder, will they be able to pay for education? Children graduating from college with $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in debt, a mortgage without the house. That's why I proposed a 21st century education fund, that we ought to reinvest in America, and most importantly, reinvest in our children. Because again, I thought about my own background. I had the opportunity. I could have gone the wrong way. And all children, all of our children, two things can happen. They can become productive citizens, or they'll be unproductive. And it is within our grasp to help them become productive. And if they do become productive, they pay taxes, they contribute to society. And you may know, but I don't know, where that person will come from who will find a cure for cancer, who will be the next leader, who will be the school teacher. They can come from the poorest or the most wealthy house. But every child should have an opportunity to reach his or her potential. I think of our environment, as Jack talked about. We have an obligation to pass on to our children and our grandchildren a clean environment. And the time is slipping away. We know that. We have not had the courage to face it as a people, and we certainly haven't had the leadership. This middle class squeeze hits us at all parts. Unable to take care of our parents. Unable to afford to send our children to pre-K. I know something about that, serving on the Minnesota Early Learning Foundation. The advantage the children have if they have early education, and why some children and not others. Shouldn't all of our children have that opportunity? So you're going to have to make a choice, folks. You're going to have to make a choice between these candidates as to who is going to get something done. And I'm not a person that's just talked about change. I've delivered change. And I think you have to look at the backgrounds of all of us. And I think the best predictor as to what somebody will do in the United States Senate is what they've done in the past. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit about what I have done. I took on one of the most entrenched and powerful industries in the world, the tobacco industry. And we changed history. They were targeting our children and manipulating the nicotine, and we stopped them. and we're the only state that stopped it. And as a result, their conduct has changed, and this state has received already over $2 billion and will continue to receive up to $200 million as long as they're selling cigarettes. That money was going to our kids until Tim Bellini took it away to pay off our deficit. He robbed the children's piggy bank to pay our debt. Pharmaceutical companies, Jack talked about pharmaceutical companies. I took them on behalf of women back in the 80s when they were putting out defective products which not only killed them, it took away their right to have children when and if they wanted to have children. And we put our law firm at risk in both of those cases. I'll never forget my partner Elliot Kaplan calling me when I was trying the Copper 7 case. He said, Mike, we're at the end of the credit line. I said, Elliot, what do you want me to do? Tell them to give us more money. Because we're not stopping now. And we didn't. I've stood in the face of power and said, no. That's what we need in the United States Senate. I will listen, as I always have, and gather the facts, and I will do very, very exactly analytical thinking and examination of people of power. And I'll make a decision. You'll know what that decision will be. And then I will go for it. And I will always be true to my word. If I do not make a difference in the United States Senate in the first 6 years, I should not run again. I do not accept that we can't make a change in your first term. People say you got to go there to get along and it's got to take a while. Nonsense. We don't have that time, folks, as a nation. We need people who will go to Washington, shake things up, and get things done. And don't worry, I know how to compromise. Keep this in mind. I've had to manage 250 lawyers, 99 senators. Day at the beach. Thank you very much.